This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Time for me to look at the hot takes for the week. So let's just jump into it and see what you guys were commenting on the videos all week. The winners and losers from Browns week 9. This comment from Pepe Sylvia. Shout out to all my Always Sunny fans who say, at about the midway point, being 5-3 is a huge win for the Browns. They have had their starting quarterback only half of their games, facing one of the most difficult strength of schedules thus far. They've lost 2 of the games they should have won, and 2 of the games they should have lost. They have a hell of an opportunity in front of them. They can have a chance to make a statement next week. I can't wait. Yeah, I would say the Browns being at 5-3 is also a huge win. I would have to agree with that, Pepe. I think that getting through that very tough stretch at the beginning of the year, going through everything that you went through and not having the season be tanked is giant. Like, just look at what happened last year, right? When Deshaun was suspended, and you had to get through a very rough patch in the season of 11 games, and you were just hoping to get to 5 wins out of those 11 games, right? Till Deshaun can get back. We was like, hey man, let's get through all those games. And we weren't able to get to 5. We got to 4 and 7. And the season felt like it was on the ropes at that point. So, you know, you're at a similar point to where you're like, okay, we want Deshaun to get back healthy. And let's say it takes 2 more games for him to get back healthy. You know, at worst, you're at 5-5 reset season. At best, you're at what, 6, 7-3. In mid case scenario, you're 6-4. So you're in a great position, a much better position than you were last year to kind of withstand the turmoil that you inherited. And now, you know, you have a chance to really make stuff shake in the AFC, despite the fact that you've been through a lot. And that's a lot of credit to that staff, a lot of credit to the coaching staff, the locker room, everybody involved in that and making it happen. So, yeah, I would agree with you in that saying, Pepe. Now, the next question or hot takes come from how will the Browns replace Jed Wills? Dylan Bennett says, dang man, the Browns have had the best and worst luck with injuries. What do I mean? When the Chubb injury happened, we thought it was over for his leg, but it was just an MCL with minimal damage, all things considered. Then Deshaun has an injury to his throwing shoulder, and that can easily end a QB season. But I think he was just out for like 5 or 6 weeks with no surgery needed. The shoulder looked great on Sunday with great velocity, throwing motion by my untrained eye. And now Jed, who we thought it was a wrap for the next 12 months, seen him get carted off. It's going to be, they're saying it's about an MCL in about 4 to 6 weeks. And they're saying he shouldn't need surgery. I swear we're getting the best and worst luck, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, like, it sucks that we have these injuries, but it is fortunate that these injuries that pop up aren't as bad as they could be, right? So I wouldn't say it's good and bad luck. It's just medium luck. We got medium luck right now. Like, we're getting lucky in some spots, we're getting unlucky. It's kind of neutral at this point. But yeah, it's kind of sucks that we've had this many injuries. Mike Martin says, I like Alex Leatherwood sign. Don't know when it happened, but happy for the move. I know he's a better at guard than tackle, but still gonna have faith in him. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Alex Leatherwood. I don't think it's a great sign that he wasn't a part of the people that they are really considering to play this week, but that might be more with what they have hopes for him, and they might just have high hopes for him at guard. So, you know, that's what I think with that. Deshaun Watson might be. Comment here by Travel Well, who says, it's a long one. I too took some encouragement from the game, but I'm still not confident in Watson being consistent. I think you're right in saying that he needs more reps to get comfortable being under pressure. Unfortunately, the Ravens are probably one of the worst teams to be developing those skills against. Fair. The Ravens are playing clean and brutal right now. I know the Browns have the tools and the talent, but The consistency is still lacking. A great performance can undercut the penalties or turnovers. We know the Browns like both. Going to be tough. Yeah, I mean, like, it's a division game. It's going to be tough. No division game is just handed to you on a silver platter. So you always got to go into it with that mindset. But yeah, I do think there are some encouraging things. I think it's encouraging that it looked like he built off of what he did in Tennessee. I also think it's encouraging that when you look at the big picture and as much kicking, screaming, and whining we've done as a fan base collectively, you look at Deshaun Watson's 4 starts and you point to one bad game. Like, the Cincinnati game was a good one. He was found a way to be productive. We all agreed with that after the game. I know some people have decided to change how what do they call it? Retcon how they felt about the game when it felt like an opportune time to dunk on somebody. But we all felt good about that Cincinnati game after it happened. Like, sure, he could have played better, but Joe Burrow threw for 82 yards. Like, obviously there were things that were going wrong in the passing offense, right? And then you look at week 2, obviously that was a bad game. Nobody's going to make any excuses about that. But then you get to week 3, good game. He misses 4 weeks. Plays a little bit in that Indy game. It was obvious he wasn't ready. Comes back again. When he's ready against Arizona, he looks much better. I mean, we're talking about 5 games he's played fully, 4 games he's played fully, and 3 of them we feel pretty good about. So, arrows pointing up right now, but a loss in Baltimore and a bad performance in Baltimore certainly changed things. We do want to see Watson not just be consistent, but be consistent on the road versus AFC North teams, because I don't think he's run a road AFC North game while he's been a member of the Cleveland Browns yet. But yeah, it's going to be tough, but that's the job. I don't think it's too much to ask. Oliver Truman Jr. says, get ready for a brutal slap in the face, guys. Stefanski's offense isn't built to win in competitive games. You could have primetime Brady back and it wouldn't matter. Mark my words, this week will send us back to reality and it will be sobering. They all need to do better and no progress will be made. Okay, well, here's what I hate about this comment, Oliver. It ignores the fact that Kevin Stefanski's offense, that isn't, in your opinion, built to win against competitive games, has won competitive games this year. Like, what are you talking about? I mean, not just this year. I mean, you look at his whole tenure, he's won competitive. Like, this is just finding a way to justify having a bad take, because you notice in this take, I'll put it back up on screen for everybody to see, where was any of the actual backed football reasons for why he doesn't like Kevin Stefanski? His reasonings are, and I'm trying to be generous here, that Stefanski's offense isn't built to win competitive games. In no way does he say how that is, right? Is it because they don't throw downfield? Is it because they don't run the ball enough? What kind of backing do you have to even make that claim? And that's not like that would be enough to make a claim, but it would at least be something. Instead, he backs it with a phrase. You could have prime Tom Brady in there and it still wouldn't matter. Okay, but what does that mean about what you actually think about the Kevin Stefanski offense? And then just another declaration. This is just talk. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate, but a lot of the Kevin Stefanski criticism is just talking points, right? It's never really stuff about the football being played. It's usually just empty platitudes and talking points and cliches that you hear with the Kevin Stefanski criticism. It's never about some of the structural stuff. And you do hear more structural criticism of Kevin. I think Jake Burns does a good job of making sure that there's some of that. Guys like Corey Kinnan do a good job of dissecting what they feel like Stefanski is and is not doing well. But when it comes to the fire Stefanski crowd, and I'm not saying this is everybody or trying to make everybody a monolith, but it does seem like the bulk of what I hear from those people have everything to do with platitudes, phrases, and shit you hear in movies and not actual football, in my opinion. The next video we're going to take these hot takes from is, have the Browns lived up to expectations so far? My man WMD says, I remember thinking in the preseason that your predictions for the defense were conservative but reasonable. I still think that dudes have just balled out under Schwartz. It's obvious he knows talent. It has allowed them to do what he do. Critically, I think he knows when to coach and to be instructed and when to freelance. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that people miss out on when we hear like a lot of the cliches about coaching when it comes to criticisms from, the fan side of the argument. And I feel like a lot of those criticisms are based in things that they want, like that aren't really have anything to do with the player's success. Like when we talk about a defense, I think what's led to this defense's success is just being able to let these guys do what they want to do. And what I mean by that is just play more man, be a little bit more physical, allow them to feel like it's okay to be aggressive without being yelled at on the sideline, and encourage an identity, right? I think that's so important for a coach to do, is encourage an identity. And when you're encouraging an identity, right? Let's say you want the team to be aggressive, and that's what you want the identity to be. Well, in order to encourage that identity, you not only need to have success with that, but you need to also know that, hey, if somebody fails something because they're being aggressive, you can't sit here and wag your finger at them because they didn't do exactly what you wanted to do. They went and did an aggressive version of what you wanted to do. You obviously try to correct that, but you have to try to cultivate and keep that positive feeling about that aggression, at least on the defensive side of the ball, if that's what you want it to be. So yeah, that's a good point. The Browns must be aggressive versus the Ravens. Frank Wolfram says, an interesting take. My take is we have to out physical them. We have to beat them up, and we have to have manpower to accomplish this and win the game. That is what the AFC North is all about. Yeah, it's going to have to be a physical game for sure. You're going to have to bring your lunch pail to work. But I don't think that Baltimore wants to out physical you, to be honest with you. I think Baltimore, they don't want to finesse you, but they do want to play chess, right? They're not interested in getting into a arm wrestling competition with the Cleveland Browns, right? If we're using out physical as a bar, that would be getting into an arm wrestling contest with the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens want to set you up for things later on. So you got to be careful with that and make sure that you don't fall into their trap. But I think it's important that you come into this game and be aggressive and really just get to the point of attack and make tackles this week. If you make tackles, that allows you to get downhill, that allows you to push the Ravens behind the sticks, and that allows the Ravens, that forces the Ravens to get out of what they want to do, makes them uncomfortable. The more uncomfortable the Ravens are, the more they turn the ball over, the better chance you have on the offensive side of the ball to win a tough defensive battle. I think it all trickles down from there. Jeremy says, a win on this game would be huge, not only for us, the battle for the division, but for the Steelers and the Bengals to be back in contention as well. I think our offense is clicking like it has been most of the season. We can win. Then throw the fact this is a bit of a revenge game too, but I agree with you. Get after them quick. This should be a good one. Yep. Yeah, I think you do bring up a good point, Jeremy, about the offense clicking, because I haven't thought about that, right? And I know a lot of people are going to snuff their noses at that, but be honest with you, Seattle was a pretty good offensive performance. You come back, a good offensive performance versus the Cardinals. You can argue in spots that the Colts game was a good offensive performance. And you have been improving weekly offensively. And obviously the quarterback play has gotten better since Deshaun Watson has gotten back. So yeah, I mean, you are getting to where you want to offensively, and things are feeling like they're moving a lot smoother on that side of the ball. And yeah, the Browns are a much different team that came in week 4, but they got to prove it on Sunday. We'll see what happens with it. The next video I'm taking the comments from is the AFC North is insane. The Shamrod, shout out to Shamrod, a member, says, I strongly believe that for the first time in NFL history, all 4 teams in the division will make the playoffs. I agree. I think it has a real strong chance of happening. I think if it happens, this is the year it happens, because I don't know how this is going to break out with all the division games that are left between the AFC North. But I just look at every team like there's no reason they should be any worse than what they started with, right? Like Pittsburgh should probably be around what they have been, if not better. I mean, it's not like their schedule in the back end's that tough. Same thing can be said for Cleveland. And then you look at Baltimore, I mean, there's no reason they should fall off at the second half of the season. There's no reason that the Bengals should. So, yeah, I agree. Like, these all look like playoff teams to me. I hate that when the Browns are finally good, the rest of the division is even better. We waited on big men to get old and retired. We waited out those old Ravens teams, Flacco, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed. Hey, it's generous adding Joe Flacco to the list of Hall of Famers on the Ravens, but I understand what you're saying. And waited even on the Bengals with Carson Palmer and Andy Dalton and the other good Bengals, including Burrow. We finally get this good in division is still a gauntlet. I hate it. I wish we could just dominate a division like other teams. Just our luck. However, if we could beat our division, I guess that means we could beat anybody. Iron sharpens iron. Yeah, I mean, that's the battle of it, right? You want to be in a tough division because you want to be ready once these playoff games happen, but you also don't want to play so many playoff games that you end up being beaten down or not qualifying for the playoffs, right? That's the thing about the AFC North. Teams that get in there usually get pretty far in the playoffs because they're so battle tested. And yeah, I think that you're not going to get more experience or more prepared for what playoff football is like than playing in the AFC North, because it's playoff football every divisional game almost. That's the level of intensity, especially when all four of the teams are playing at a good enough level to make the playoffs. So yeah, man, it's a gauntlet, and I understand why we hate it, but also it makes us better all in the end, because I think this is the kind of thing that makes us be able to beat a team like the 49ers with the backup quarterback. This is the type of thing that allows us to go 2-1 versus non-division opponents in a stretch where you didn't have your quarterback for 3 weeks. Like, this is the stuff that puts you over the top and allows you to get out of tough stretches because you're battle tested in week 4. Nobody else going to be as battle tested as these AFC North teams. And if I'm picking a team to come out the AFC, it's the Kansas City Chiefs and the AFC North. Those are the teams that I would want I think can really get through that battle with the playoffs. Logan says, to be fair, from a Ravens or Browns perspective, it's not really that insane. They're still the best teams in the division until proven otherwise. And luckily, the Browns have a chance to prove otherwise this weekend. But as a Browns fan, if you were a Raven fan, I would assume you're not as anticipatory as we are about the game this weekend. We'll see. I mean, here's the thing with the Ravens. They played the Bengals and us back to back. And just as comfortable as they feel right now, they can be in last place by the end of these next 10 days. So I wouldn't be sitting. I don't think they're sitting too comfortable. I think they understand that as well. Deshaun Watson's return was better than you thought. This is the film breakdown. Wish Browns fans could just appreciate that we have a good quarterback and stop exaggerating every little mistake. I just think we're at a point to where we're dissecting, like we're putting everything that Deshaun does under this ginormous microscope and then assuming that all of these things that we see that we don't like have these really complicated answers to them, when truly, like, for some of this, it's just like shit happened, right? Like, okay, he missed a couple of short throws. I think he just rushed his arm progress and just missed it. Like, it happens. But instead of being able to accept that, it turns into a whole rabbit hole of things that we got to be worried about and whatnot. And it's exhausting. But yeah, I don't even know if Deshaun's good or not, or if he's going to be back to 2020 yet. But what I do know is that this is something worth waiting out. And I think that we just need to get to that point. We don't need to make a conclusion one way or the other definitively about Deshaun Watson after every drive or every game. We can really just wait this one out until the end of the year and see where we're at and make the evaluation, because that's what we're going to have all summer to do. I really just don't see the rush that people seem to be in to determine whether Deshaun Watson is this or that. Right now, Deshaun Watson is an unknown. We hope that it leans in a positive direction if you're a Browns fan, but anything other than that, we're going to have to wait for the end of the season to really figure out. And there's really no rush or no reason not to get to that point, because we've seen what the quarterback position is without him. There's a significant difference. So, just have some, I'm not saying have patience, but I'm saying, like, let's wait this out before we make all of these giant determinations on what people what he is or is not. And I'm not saying you said that, Nick. I'm just saying, like, I think that's the overall feeling in the fan base, that everybody wants to declare this thing one way or the other, right? They want to declare the trade a win, or they want to declare the trade the biggest failure of all time, all after 1 week of football or one game, or how they feel about it, right? It just feels like we just want to declare this damn thing something. And we got all summer to do that. And I don't understand why we not just letting this season play out, and then we can declare shit afterwards, right? We can make all the essays about, like, save this shit for the summer. I'm like dead serious. Like, save it for the summer, because you can determine whether this trade is good or not in the summer, and you would have a lot more information to make a more educated article about in the summer. There's no reason to rush to make that article in November. You know what I mean? There's no reason to rush to say that Deshaun is trash in November. Nor is there a reason to say that Deshaun is back in November. Like, we just gotta wait this one out, right? See what the process is gonna look like week in, week out, and then get to the end of the year and see what we got, and then make our determination based on that, because nothing we say here is gonna actually matter. It's gonna matter once we get to June, July, the off season. So let's just wait. Like, I just don't see the rush. I really just don't see the rush to determine this one thing or another. And I understand why the rush is there. It's artificial. It's because people want shit to write about or talk about or make videos about. But, like, if we're being serious, like in a serious context and conversation about this team, you can't declare this nothing until at least the end of this year. So what are we actually doing? And right now, the way it's looks like it's not going to be something you could declare one way or the other by the end of this year. Like, you might feel good about it one way or the other, but I feel like we're going to still, have some questions about how far this is going to go or where the ceiling is with this at the end of the year. And it's just life, man. That's just life. Not every question is going to be answered. And it's like, you know what it's like? And I'll get off this point after this. It's like, you ever watch a TV show with somebody, and instead of watching the whole season, somebody like watches 2 episodes and they get mad that the questions that they have from how the show has played out have not been answered yet, even though there's 6 damn more episodes left in the season. And instead of wanting to wait for it, this person's like, nah, this season sucks. They didn't tell me why this happened and that happened. And you just never want to watch a movie with that person again. I feel like that's what we're going through. Like, we're on episode 2 or episode 4 of a 17 episode series. And we out here trying to declare everything something or not after every episode. Dog, just let the season play out, then make your determination. We got incomplete information right now. I don't understand the rush. You could talk about it once the season is done. Like, I'm not saying don't talk about it, but you can determine these things and be definitive once the season is done. But right now, we ain't even close. Man's played 4 games. I don't understand it. Like, we don't need to be in this rush. We really don't. There's nothing that's going to happen. There's nothing that's going to happen when you're in this rush other than people dunking on people every week over shit that we don't even know for real. Like, that's it. It's just silly. It's a silly game that we're playing. And quite frankly, I hope you could tell I'm sick of it. I'm sick of this silly game that we keep playing with him. Just let the season play out, and then we can make our determinations afterwards. But we need the full, complete sample, dog. Like, why can't we just wait before we make these declarations? But I know why, because people want to do the dunk on stuff and get the content in, and because they don't want to work hard for it. And it's just frustrating. But y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.